'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. Welcome. We're so grateful and thankful to God to have you to join us December the 25th, 2020. That's right, saints and friends and members of Peoples Community Church family. In the midst of a pandemic, Christmas has arrived. And this morning, as we prepare to enter into our worship experience, I want you to get comfortable. I want you to open up your hearts and your minds. Let's prepare to hear a word from the Lord. This morning, on Christmas Day, we're going to hear a word from Lady Jodi Matthews. Let's pray for her. Let's support her as she breaks unto us the bread of life. Let's enter now into the beautiful sanctuary of Peoples Community Church. Blessings from on high.
Good morning, saints of God. Merry Christmas to you and joy to the world. Joy to you and to me. You know, the most published Christian hymnal sang in North America is Joy to the World. It was inspired by a man named Isaac Watts, a Christian minister and writer whose sacred words were inspired by Psalms 98. Instead of celebrating the birth of Christ like most hymnals do, this song celebrates the triumphant return of Christ. Listen at his lyrics. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Verse 2, he rules the world with truth and grace and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness and wonders of his love and wonders of his love and wonders of his love. Now, when most people hear about the second return of Christ or the second coming of Christ, the last thing that they have is joy, because the second coming of Christ often scares people rather than excite. But I want to remind you that when Christ came during his first coming, he brought with him grace. Understand it. His first coming, he brought with him grace. You know what grace is. Grace is getting something good that you don't deserve. This is what Christ came. He brought to the whole world. We didn't deserve his love. We didn't deserve his salvation. But when he came, instead of killing us, he brought grace. I know a lot of our young people can identify with me out there on today, this Christmas Day. You got your PS5s. You all got your Jordan 1s. Some of you got some MCM backpacks. You got everything that your heart desired. But I bet you, all throughout this year, some of you maybe did not deserve those Christmas gifts, but your parents were gracious enough. They showed you grace and gave you something good that you don't deserve. Oh, this is what Jesus Christ did for us. He came to the earth during his first advent, and he gave us something good that we don't deserve, and it's called grace. Well, I thought if we can get excited about his first coming, why not get excited about his second coming? Because if he brought grace with him during his first coming, I can only imagine what he's going to bring during his second coming. I mean, really look at this. He brings grace during his first advent, during his first time of his feet touching the earth. He brings grace, something that was good. Can you imagine again with me? What is he going to bring during his second coming? I need everyone out there in online land. I need you to hold up 5 hands. 5 hands, 5. 5. Turn to your neighbor. If you're sitting in your home right now, some of you playing with gifts right now, parents are sitting right now and you're watching this today. Hold up the number 5 with your hands. 5 is the number of grace. 5, grace. So in honor of the Christ, I want to leave you with 5 joys, not of his first coming, but of his second coming. 5 joys of his second coming. Let's go to a passage of scripture that celebrates both the first and the second comings of Christ all in one. You know how God is. You know there is a passage of scripture that celebrates both his first and his second coming. It is most appropriate during this season. We're going to go to the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. I want to just look at one verse right here. And it reads, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. Listen at this. And his name shall be called. Now these are the royal titles of the Christ child. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Do you not notice there are 5 names that Isaiah names the Christ child with, or the King child with? 5, the number of grace, 5 names given to him in the book of Isaiah, and they all show what type of character he was when he came during his first coming. But I want to focus on verse 6a. A child is born, for unto us, the world, a child is born, unto us a son is given. Now listen at this, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. Isaiah said, when I seen the Christ child coming, he said, I seen the child king coming to the earth. He said, I seen the government resting upon his shoulders. Follow me here. Why did Isaiah say government? Why didn't Isaiah say, I seen the church upon his shoulders? But no. Isaiah, this Jewish writer, he says, when I seen the Christ child come, when I seen the child king come, or the king child, he said, I seen the government resting upon his shoulders. You know how God is. How can a government rest upon the child? Think with me now. Let's go on into Bible land. How can a government rest upon a child? This is how God wanted to describe the king child. And he says, I'm going to let a government rest upon him. Now, the government has an obligation to its citizens. I think during the year 2020, many of us, or many of you, got an opportunity to have your eyes open to see how much the government has in our daily lives, how much responsibility they have toward us, even though sometimes they act like they don't. The government has a responsibility towards its citizens that are living in its country. The government's obligation is to build hospitals. All of that come through the government. The government obligations is to build libraries, highways, and roads, to make sure all of those things are going forth. The government's responsibility to its citizens is to provide health care. The government's responsibility to its citizens is to provide homeland security. That's why when you hear all of these terms, they often come up during election year. What are you going to do about health care? What are you going to do about gun control? What are you going to do about homeland security? All of these things are the government's responsibility to take care of for its citizens. Which is why when Christ comes, Isaiah says the government is placed upon his shoulders, not the church, the government. Think with me, because many of us, when we read this passage of Isaiah, a very familiar passage of Isaiah, a most appropriate passage for this Christmas season as we deal with the child. Isn't that funny? God put the government upon a child. Because what is God letting us know? This is no ordinary child that's coming into the earth. He's going to take on the government. And so it begs the question for Christ, because you know God is real funny. He knows how to bring the beginning to the end and bring the end to the beginning. I mean, he says, yeah, you guys, I introduced to you the child, the Mashiach child, the Messiah, the anointed one. He says, but also I'm going to introduce his end in the same verse, which is the government, which deals with his second coming. What do you mean about the government, his second coming? is called the Millennium Kingdom of Christ, which will be a literal, visual kingdom on this earth. And this is going to be the time that the government will rest upon the shoulders of the Christ child, the Christ King, the King child. Follow me. I want to know, what is the government? What are you going to do when the government is placed upon your shoulders, Jesus? So I told you, I want to leave you with 5 joys of his second coming. Thank God for his first coming as we remember his first coming today. But I want to leave you with 5 joys of his second coming. The first joy to the world, when Christ comes and the government rests on his shoulders, he's going to turn on the lights. What do you mean by that, Sister Jodi? He will turn on the bright lights of this dark world. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 5 states, "Then the Lord my God will come, and all his holy ones with him." That's you and I, saints. We're going to be with him when he comes back during the second coming, which distinguishes this coming from the rapture, because his feet never touches the earth during the rapture. But during the second coming, his feet will touch Mount Olivet like he stated. So, Zechariah, "Then the Lord my God will come, and all his holy ones with him. On that day, there will be continuous day. There will be no normal day and night, for at evening time it will still be light." Folks, you need to understand, when Christ comes back, look at what he's bringing. One of the first joys that he's bringing to the earth, he says, it ain't going to be no more darkness on the earth. He said, even at evening time it's going to be light. And many of us, boy, you golfers ought to love the Lord when he comes back during his second coming, because he's going to make sure it don't get dark. So now you can be on the golf course as long as you want. Oh, this is why I love Christ. So that is the first joy. He's going to turn on the lights of this dark world. Here is the second joy to the world of his second coming. He's going to take care of homeland security. All evil will be removed during the 1,000-year millennium. Where can we find this? Revelation chapter 20, verse 1. You know I had to go there. God bless you. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1, and it states, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." Now, when we talk about this, a lot of people think that this is only spiritually. No. Right now, Satan, when Christ died on the cross, it was amazing because he bound Satan spiritually. That meant no more can Satan have rule in our life, can sin rule over our life. Christ bound him spiritually. But when he comes back during the second coming, here is a joy that he brings back to the earth. He says, I'm going to take Satan, who's been wreaking havoc in this earth all these years, all these eons of years. I'm going to take him and bind him in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. So that means it's going to be some good peace on earth if we have our arch enemy bound, or all evil will be removed. So that is the second joy to the world. He's going to take care of homeland security. Now the third joy to the world, we will have renowned health care. Folks, this is going to be literal. You ought to be starting to get some joy right now. He's going to bring forth renowned health care. Now, I don't know how many of you are happy with how our government is taking care of health care today. Just even across the world, but how our government is taking care of health care. I know we have a lot of people who are not too happy, but let's look at what Christ is going to bring when he comes, when the government is placed on his shoulders and it's his turn to take care of health care. Isaiah. Boy, he was seeing some things, wasn't he? Isaiah 65 verse 20 states, "No longer will babies die only a few days old. No longer will adults die before they have lived a full life. No longer will people be considered old at 100. Isaiah 35 even states, "The blinded eyes are going to be open. Deaf, if you're deaf and you can't hear, you're going to be able to hear. And if you're in a wheelchair, you'll be able to get up and walk." Wait a minute. When it deals with healthcare, Jesus says, yeah, I'm changing everything here. Not only that, he's going to roll back time. What are you talking about? All of humanity, there will be no more getting old physically, although we will be getting older in years. What are you talking about here? We will go back to the time of Genesis where people were living 800, 900, 600 years and they did not get old physically. It's going to be just amazing. How do you know? And I want to venture this far out to say that he's going to even do this. All of humanity would be between the ages, this is how we can understand it so far, between the ages of 33 and 36. Where you get that from, Sister Jodi? Well, when Jesus come back, the Christ child, we know he's going to be in his flesh because when he rose from the grave, he showed Thomas his flesh. So he still had a body. So we're going to be in our bodies. We're not just going to be spirit beings. But Jesus says also in 1 John 3 and 2, we are the sons of God, and it doeth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is. If we're going to be like Christ, even though we will retain our features as now, but our bodies will be just like Christ. Christ has a glorified body. We will also have a glorified body. Now, here's a question, pop quiz. What age did Jesus die? Yes, you are right, age 33 and a half. There was purpose in that, folks. So when he come back, that's why Jesus says, if you was old, you're going to be just like me. Where my death stopped, where my age stopped or ceased when I was in the earth, he's going to turn everybody back to 33. Celebrities, you ought to love the Lord. You'll be able to look as good as a 33-year-old and not have any surgeries. This is what we're talking about. Jesus is going to bring back renowned health care. That's the third joy to the world. Let's move on to the fourth joy to the world. There will be no more wars. Isaiah chapter 2 verse 4 states, the Lord will settle international disputes. All the nations will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. All wars will be stopped and military training will come to the end. Folks, no more nuclear wars. There will be no more threats. When Jesus said he come back, he said he's going to make everybody turn all of their weapons and turn them into plowshares so you can just go in the field and work easily. It will be no more guns on earth. Talk about gun control. That is the fourth joy to the world. Now let's look at the fifth joy to the world. It will be world peace. Something that no world leader has accomplished yet. Everybody wants to accomplish world peace and have that Nobel Peace Prize stuck to their heart. But the thing is, it won't be accomplished until the Christ child or the child king comes back to the earth. Where is this at? Isaiah chapter 9 verse 7. His ever expanding, peaceful government will never end. He will rule forever with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David. Folks, if you didn't notice that 2020 opened everybody's eyes, even though most of us, especially the black community, man, we've been going through this for years and we've known it for years, but it seemed like the world's eyes were finally opened to the injustices in the world. When Jesus comes, he's going to be ruling over there in Israel, sitting upon his father's throne's David in a fourth temple built by himself, and the whole world is going to bring forth their disputes. Folks, this is a literal thing, like you get up and go to court. If there are disputes, when Jesus is here on earth, they will bring all their disputes to the Christ and stand before him, and he will rule with fairness and justice. You know what that means now? There will be no more injustice. There will be no more unjust jury verdicts. There will be no more miscarriages of justice. People of God, if you've lost a loved one and you felt like you didn't get justice in the courtroom, there will be no more of that when Jesus comes. Christ says, I'm going to rule with fairness and with justice. No wonder Isaac had to pen joy to the world. No wonder Joy to the World is the most celebrated Christmas song in Northern America. No wonder Joy to the World is a song that most of our children learn. One of the first songs that they learn when they are children. For there is much joy. Why? For the Lord has come. And when the Lord comes, what happens? The government is placed upon the child king. And I'm going to stick with the child. Somebody call him a dog. No. You know why the Bible wants to also say or continue to call Christ the child king? Because children or child equals humbleness. Humbleness deals with your position in life. It deals with, although you have a lot, and although you have a lot of money, you have a lot of status, you don't treat people like they're peons or they're little or they're beneath you. The Bible is letting you know when Christ comes, he is Emmanuel, God on the earth. But he's going to treat everybody as if you're like him. Not that you are God, but he's going to treat you with value. Oh my goodness, hallelujah. Guess what, folks? He will be so humble. Follow me here. He will be so humble that he will even allow questioning from the press. What do you mean by this? All right, so you know when the new transition of power takes place in any government, there's always questions about what's going to happen. There are some administrations that won't take questions. There are some administrations that will walk out because they feel like I don't have to answer your question. But let me tell you what happens when the child king comes. The king child comes. He's going to take questions from the press, from all the people who's sitting on earth. And guess what? They're going to ask him, what you going to do about energy and environment? And Jesus is just going to say, I'm going to make sure that it's continuous day. I'm going to make sure that there is no night. What you going to do, Jesus or Yeshua, about homeland security? He said there will be no more wars, for Satan will be bound. There will be no violence on earth, for men are going to beat their weapons into plowshares. What you gonna do about health care? Jesus, now that the government is on your shoulder, he's gonna say man is gonna live up to age 1,000. He's gonna restore the fountain of youth. You'll be considered a child at age 100. Sickness, he's gonna partake in natural holistic care. There will be no more pharmaceutical drugs or vaccines with side effects. What do you mean? Because Revelation chapter 22 verse 2 states, the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. I think y'all think God is just putting this stuff down. No. If you are sick and can't get well, everybody don't even have to go grab the cloak of Jesus as he's sitting there, that we don't have to grab his prayer shawl as he's sitting upon the throne, because you know he's going to have his prayer shawl on like most Jewish men will. A lot of nations go and grab them some leaves and get healed. Now, all the holistic natural people all the love the Lord. So I tell you folks, these are the 5 joys to the world. Christ is going to turn on the lights. He's going to take care of homeland security. He's going to give renowned health care. There will be no more wars. There will be world peace. There will be no more wars. There will be no deserts. There will be no earthquakes. There will be no night. There will be no air pollution. There will be no oil spills. There will be no thieves. There will be no sorrow. There will be no evil. There will be no cancer. There will be no COVID. There will be no more crazy years like 2020. Only joy. Only joy to the world is what comes with Christ during his second coming. No wonder Isaac Watts thought about joy when it related to the second coming of Christ. Did you not know he penned a 3rd verse? See, this is the forgotten verse, but Isaac Watts was also inspired, and he stated, no more let sins and sorrow grow. No thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow. Far as the curse is found, far as the curse is found. Far as the cursed is found. Joy to the world, joy to you and to me. God bless you.
From our family to your family.
Merry Christmas, church family. I miss you guys.
We miss you guys.
With love, we miss you. Praying fervently for you. Can't wait till 2021.
So excited about the new year, family.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! Woo!